Today's episode of Nerd Soup is sponsored by Shudder. To try Shudder for free for 30 days, go to Shudder.com and use promo code NERDSOUP. That's SHUDDER.com and use code NERDSOUP. The Netflix for horror is a great way to describe Shudder. With the largest and fastest growing human-curated selection of thrilling and dangerous entertainment, horror fans of all kinds will find something to enjoy on Shudder without having to sit through ads or commercials of any kind. Shudder is all about the content, with new spine-tingling thrillers, shocking horrors, and edge-of-your-seat suspense added weekly. Your Shudder membership will also allow you to check out some of their original and exclusive content. One in particular that I think our audience would enjoy is this video essay, Leap of Faith, William Friedkin on The Exorcist. Now, you guys probably know we reviewed The Exorcist on this channel, and this video essay is a great look into the mind of the man who created this movie, all the influences, and really what he was trying to say with this film. And it was a very enjoyable 100 minutes, getting some really great insight into one of the most iconic horror movies of all time. Plus, you could stream The Unexpected on all of your favorite devices, including your iPhone, Android, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, and more. And remember, you can visit Shudder.com and use promo code NERDSOUP to try Shudder free for 30 days. But remember, we're not responsible for any nightmares you may have. So, go ahead, click that link, get to watching. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Bo Oliver, joined here today by Teddy, and we are back for The Mandalorian Season 2, Chapter 16, Season Finale, Review, The Rescue.
You know this is no place for a child. Wherever I go, he goes. So I've heard.
So much to talk about. Psych.
Well,
there was one thing that happened in this episode.
You know what that is? Yeah, that's a good point. I guess that one thing that happened, spoilers, Luke Skywalker was in the episode. I hope you stayed off Twitter before you watched this episode.
I did.
People just let them loose, man. They do not care. They just let them fire.
I was
you just have to know at this
very
point.
wary of Twitter. I did not go on it, besides making my poll, and that was it.
Even that's kind of a spoiler. Warning your friends, stay off Twitter for the episode.
Honestly, I was like, what could possibly be happening?
Yeah. No, you make a good point. This episode really did just rely on Luke Skywalker's presence, and I think in the end, to kind of sum it up shortly here, it was a disappointing finish for the season overall.
Listen, nostalgia-wise, if you go on YouTube and type in the reaction videos to this episode, that was me. I was extremely happy when Luke came in. But when you sit back and think about this episode, I think they ruined Moff Gideon's story.
I would agree with that.
They set him up in season 1, had a fantastic finish, and then brought him back for no reason.
Right.
And then had us all thinking about what Moff's doing. And he didn't have an episode. He didn't say anything besides when they were in the cell together. And that wasn't even that big of a scene.
And that's the thing. He's such a commanding presence on screen, but he doesn't nearly have enough screen time.
No.
Not in this episode, not in the entire season. And we never did get that Moff Gideon episode. And you were wondering how would his combat skills be able to stand up to Mando.
It wasn't good.
Yeah, and it was just short.
Yeah.
It was reminiscent of Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, which is not something that I really want to reminisce about.
Yeah.
It's cool when it happened in that movie, but he doesn't nearly have enough screen time. And like you said, the whole episode, it is about the rescue of Grogu. I mean, talking about the character of Grogu, I was thinking back, he doesn't have a lot of Force moments in this season, if any, just stealing cookies, really. But
they sat him on the bench this season.
Yeah, they sat him on the bench. Last season, he really did find a way to kind of pull them out of some sticky situations, help them out in some sticky situations using the Force.
One thing that gets me annoyed with this episode is when they went to Bo-Katan, they had this whole fight, and is this like a never-ending battle with who's a Mandalorian or not? It's like, it's Boba Fett, and why is it always a problem? He is a Mandalorian, no? I mean, he's a clone, but his dad was Jango.
I don't mind those politics because I think they're interesting, and I guess that's where the story is going. And you said it a couple weeks ago, will this season end with Grogu going off with the Jedi? And I was like, no way. You got to keep Mando and Grogu together. That's the dynamic duo. And
yeah, no.
No, you called it. They fucking split them up, and they set up Din Djarin as this character that will be the reluctant ruler, or the reluctant individual to restore Mandalore with the help of Bo-Katan and Koska
He doesn't want
Reeves.
the Darksaber, but he has to take it now.
Did you like all that, the way that they tried to maneuver in some political subplot here? That the Darksaber, it's more about the story than it is that the Darksaber doesn't have any power. That's what people always ask about the Darksaber. Does it do anything else? No, it's just a cool lightsaber. It's just cool looking.
So they can't I know Mando can't just hand it over, but can they like just like fake fight, or this has to be a real fight for her to take that Darksaber back?
Well, Moff Gideon,
because he was spared and he didn't kill Moff Gideon. So can they just fight undisclosed location and just?
He makes a point where it's sort of like Game of Thrones, that it's a story behind the throne or the sword that's passed down. So I guess it would feel inauthentic if they had some sort of exhibition match. Like he says in this episode, I yield, and he tries to give it to her. But what does a story really matter when people can't even remember the ancient order of space wizards that kept peace for 1,000 years? They get wiped out. They're completely forgotten. And then you need a story to... it's just a way to make Jin the character that's going to restore Mandalore. And I guess the show is called The Mandalorian, right? Do you like that direction for this character?
Mando?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they can push the story forward now with more seasons for him. I want to know what they're going to do with... I really wanted to see what happens with Grogu and Luke. So now, do they need to have a separate series now for that? Why not just keep them together and push that story forward? Now they're going to do a Mando series and he's going to go back to bounty hunting?
Jedi's cool.
Yeah.
No, I think he's going full... He's going to be dedicated to the cause of restoring Mandalore. I think that's where he's going.
I would like that.
But for Grogu and Luke, you would think that there would be more information exchange between these two parties.
Right?
Hey, they were extracting his blood. And that's what's really, somebody made the point that they're kind of like Nazi scientists experimenting on human or living creatures, taking Grogu's blood and possibly making clones, Snoke, Palpatine.
I think Snoke's coming back, yes.
Yeah, they set them up as these really creepy, shadowy villains, and they didn't really get a payoff at the end. But you think that they would tell them, hey, this is what maybe Grogu just told him during that Force call, right? Because Luke doesn't even seem surprised to see this baby Yoda. What did you think about? I guess we'll just jump around here with this episode.
All right. Because there wasn't much to talk about.
Yeah, the Luke CGI.
It makes it hard for them to keep going with Luke because now, like we've been saying on this podcast, Sebastian Stan. So now if they have Sebastian Stan come in this, then you're gonna have Luke Skywalker CGI face and Sebastian Stan. It's like why? Then why do that? It's become a meme.
I prefer the.
They did it on purpose. They did all this on purpose.
Right. Yeah, it's done on purpose so that you can keep Luke in the shadows. That this is just going to be a moment for this episode. And his presence in this episode, he was kind of like a spirit. He was scary in the beginning when he first shows up. He's walking around in the robe.
Listen, it was sick. I loved every second of it.
You made the point.
He was a badass, man.
From a nostalgic standpoint, it's great to see.
Right. You got R2 at the end, too, man. Like, that was all great to see. But it's like, why not do this earlier then?
Would you say it's lazy storytelling?
Yeah.
That you get an emotional ending because you're bringing back such a beloved character?
We get what we want. We also love this series because it was getting away from Star Wars, the universe that we know of it. And now it's like, it came from making a new separate series to fixing Star Wars again. Star Wars fans didn't want fixing. We just wanted to like get away from this and get back to what Star Wars was.
Right. And as someone who on this channel made a video titled The Last Jedi Ruined Luke Skywalker, this doesn't redeem Luke Skywalker in any way. Like we said, we've always wanted to see the all-powerful Jedi Master Luke, and that's what we see in this moment. But you're zapping away all the momentum built up by the main Mandalorian characters.
Exactly. Now it's the Luke show now.
Right, and it's not even the Luke show. He's there for 2 minutes, and that's the emotional weight of this episode relies on his presence, rather than the main characters from this show that have been developed, that we've just been introduced to over the past couple of years. Rather than giving them their moment to shine. I mean, Mando fighting the Dark Trooper was okay. I mean, and
no, it wasn't. It wasn't cool.
It wasn't
at all.
that great, right? Yeah,
because
the Dark Troopers were kind of goofy.
They scoffed them up like they were fucking all powerful, man. And he's just
well, that one like end credit scene when we first saw Moff Gideon, we thought, who's going to help them? And that's what we guessed, that a Jedi would come and assist versus the Dark Troopers, but not that. We didn't think that was going to be the ending moment.
Listen, if I had it my way, Mando gets the Darksaber in a fight, and then Grogu gets like a beacon message from Luke.
Right.
And they go to Luke.
Right.
They don't have Luke come and save the day, which, like we said, like you just said, it was the Luke coming is what made the episode.
No, I couldn't agree more. I think if you give them their own ending, and then Luke is there at the very end saying, "Hey, I heard your."
An end credit scene.
Exactly.
Instead of Boba Fett going back to Tatooine, you make that the end credit scene. Have Grogu have Mando hand off Grogu to Luke.
No, yeah, I think you're completely correct, because you get that same emotional ending by seeing Luke. You build up those same emotions, but you don't really take away from those main characters. And
then the build up, man. Next season, we have them train together, maybe fight.
Do you think it was better than Tarkin, the CGI face?
Well, yeah. I mean, this actually looked like Mark Hamill. It was
Mark Hamill, yeah,
pretty uncanny, Mark Hamill.
Yeah. I thought it looked better than Tarkin. The hair kind of looked more fake than the face. I don't know how that worked, but
But I'm one to just look in the future, and it's like once I saw the CGI, I was happy, but then 2 seconds later, I'm like, oh, so now what?
yeah, now we're not
going
going
to
to
go
get
CGI for the rest of the time,
Right.
So it's like now we're gonna go with Sebastian Stan.
if
they do.
I could see them next up because that goodbye was very emotional between Grogu and Din.
God.
And Pedro Pascal, what he's able to do with just a face in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
A callback to Luke saying goodbye to Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi. But I think in the next season, and he says, we will meet again, I promise, we'll see an episode that takes place on whatever planet Luke was training the new Jedi Order on. Grogu kind of going through the ropes, and Luke Skywalker is there, but he's not the focus of the episode, so he's still kind of in the background. And they show his CGI face at times, but they don't really hone in on him. I think we could see that moving forward. But like you said, I don't want to see a Luke Skywalker Grogu show. Because now...
Exactly, yeah, it just separates everything. Maybe you have him train, and then he gets him back, which I wouldn't be
Well, the question, too,
opposed
is does Grogu survive a second Jedi massacre?
Do we see Adam Driver?
No, I don't think we'll see Adam Driver. I think we'll see a young Ben Solo.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, because at this point, he's got to be a kid. He's only like 6 or 7 years old. Maybe even younger.
I'm so torn, man, because I was so happy getting away from all this, and now we're getting fucking pushed right back into the storyline for The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens.
Well, that's why I wonder if Grogu's time with Luke isn't he's not going to be there for a long time. Like, he doesn't make it to the timeline of Force Awakens.
Okay.
Not that he dies, but that he does go off and do his own thing. Maybe he returns to Din in some sort of way, and maybe he has a growth spurt. We don't know how these Yodas age, these Grogu.
Can you give me Grogu talking next year, please? Please.
Yeah, the next
something?
time they reunite, he's got a lightsaber. Maybe he can fight a little bit. Maybe, yeah.
Is there a plotline where Mandalorian has any kind of force or can wield a lightsaber? Because
the first Mandalorian, the guy who created the Darksaber was a Jedi. And he was from Mandalore.
Okay. Because what I thought would have been cool is if Luke would have said he wants you to come, and then he goes with them, maybe trains with Luke too. Not for the Force, but
training
with Luke,
fighting. Yeah.
Training with Luke can be beneficial.
Get your swordsmanship up.
Yeah.
I mean, Luke pieced up Boba Fett in Return of the Jedi, and now Boba Fett's unstoppable.
Bro, I do want to talk about the fight though. Because Luke did baby those fucking Dark Troopers.
He did,
and
yeah.
It was menacing.
He choked one out, and a callback to Darth Vader in Rogue One, which is just an unnecessary callback. Like you said, you're enjoying it because that's Luke, and that's just like what his dad did.
He's so feared, though, man.
Why is Luke
just
getting
one man.
this moment?
Exactly. There you go. That's a great way to put it. Why is Luke getting this moment in The Mandalorian and not Mando?
That is also another good point. That as soon as Moff Gideon realized that a Jedi was on board, he's
one guy, bro. He
Yeah.
almost tried to kill himself.
Yeah, it changed the whole mood of the ship.
And now Gideon's a prisoner. Now he's alive as a prisoner. Have Gideon have that send off in the first fucking season, and then make somebody else a pawn that's just running what Palpatine is still
another
from is alive.
Cool ass great actor.
Yeah.
That's in his 50s and 60s. That has that commanding presence.
I'm so mad that I sat on the edge of my seat every episode waiting for like a standout scene from Esposito, and we never got it.
If they're shifting the focus of the season into a more political story moving forward, it doesn't make sense to me not to develop a character like Moff Gideon, who has the history on Mandalore, who has history with Bo-Katan, presumably stole the Darksaber from Bo-Katan. Why not give that character more development if that's if you're going in the political route? Because that negotiation scene, and that was great acting by Giancarlo Esposito, able to threaten and negotiate at the same time, able to just keep that tone.
Yeah, I got what I wanted from him already. So
right. And then the classic Star Wars betrayal, tries to fucking stab him in the back. He says this saber is very important because whoever wields it can take claim to Mandalore. Like, do you want Mandalore? Are you getting involved in the politics here? That was interesting to me, but then now he's just a prisoner of Cara Dune. And not much to do. Cara Dune, Fennec again, that was kind of disappointing. Cosca Reeves. I thought Cara Dune had that great scene in the beginning, though, when she's talking to the pilot in that standoff, and he's talking about the destruction of the Death Star killed millions of people.
You can tell how hurt she was and what she lost when Alderaan blew up.
Well, they love referencing questions that people have had about the Star Wars universe. Like, isn't Luke a mass murderer because he killed all those people on the Death Star?
Yeah.
And they love bringing that up in The Mandalorian.
It's like, from what point of view, if you're looking at their point of view, they're right. What did you think about the scientist that just willingly helped him? Not willingly, he was forced to help him, but everyone else killed themselves whenever they had to give answers, and he just told them where everything was.
Yeah, he's kind of like the Zola of the Star Wars universe.
Like
where he's
he has
working
doubts,
under
and like
the,
he knows that he's wrong, but he's just being forced to do it.
Yeah, he's a pushover too.
Yeah.
He's not a fighter. He's just a guy doing his experiments. He got the chance to.
He's a survivor. He knows if I don't help him, I'm gonna die. If I do help him, maybe he'll spare me.
And he's I mean, he experimented on Grogu and almost killed him twice.
He's still alive.
Yeah, he's still
they can
alive.
use him. Maybe they can fight. Well, no, they have Esposito.
Well, Esposito in this episode, Moff Gideon also hints at the First Order. He says that to Mando, that Grogu's blood and his abilities will help restore order to the galaxy.
Yeah. They're making a Snoke, right?
Once again, tell that to Luke. Do you think that they have a plan? Because I've not been very confident. I want to say Favreau knows where he's taking this. And that's why, even though this ending to us can be a bit jarring.
I want to say he does. I want to say he did. And his plan now has to get molded because of how big Mandalorian is getting. So now I think maybe the bigger heads want to push it to where they know the money is. And that's the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I want to think that he doesn't want to do this because of what he did in the first season. But now, I don't know. I hope he does.
Yeah, I don't know in what capacity, like we said, we've guessed and we've speculated on this review with such little information how we're going to see Luke and Grogu return. But I saw complaints that this season, the ending of this season, kind of just felt like a commercial. And parts of this season felt like commercials for other Star Wars spin-off shows.
I'll tell you one thing.
Even the end credits of this episode. And the Boba Fett show is something that I wasn't excited for.
And now we're getting it. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was a badass scene.
So I guess in Star Wars, anybody can take the throne. You just got to kill whoever's on it, and then you take the throne.
It's just old school mafia shit on Tatooine, man. It just ran up in the huts.
He runs the underground, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, and they had all those characters from the Return of the Jedi still operating, still chilling. And I guess that's what people want, right? They always talk about Star Wars as this giant play box. I disagree, where you can tell all these types of stories. You would think Boba Fett and Fennec returning to Tatooine, no Jedi, no Empire, no Force shit. It's just going to be Tatooine chaos.
It's what we wanted in Episode 7, not in Mandalorian.
Right.
And now we're getting it now. And after they built a nice world, and now we're getting back to Episode 7. What I don't like is, like, we know where it's going with the Jedi. I don't get what they can really do together, because we know where the Jedi's going. They go into a mass murder, and then Ben Solo takes over.
Yeah, I mean, they made such a mistake trying to retcon The Last Jedi.
I know.
I mean, you can't just...
It's patchwork, and it's what we didn't want. And now they're doing it.
You don't have to make up for The Last Jedi, dude.
Exactly.
The prequels exist. And a lot of your fans still like The Last Jedi. It wasn't that... that movie does not deserve the discourse surrounding it. Like, people just need to accept what it is.
What was great when we first saw Grogu, we thought that this is where they were going in the beginning. And they strayed so far away from it.
Yeah.
And now they're just right back into it. You know, that's what made us so happy with Mandalorian, because they had Grogu, but they weren't tying it with the Skywalkers. And now in the end they did. A 45-minute finale?
Yeah, 45-minute finale.
8 minutes of credits? That has to stop. That drives me insane. When I hit the down on my D-pad to see how much time is left, and I see 8 minutes, I'm like, oh, wow, they can do so much in 8 minutes.
Right. No, it's just...
Directed by Jon Favreau.
I'm always amazed. I mean, I've said this throughout Season 1 and 2, how good these episodes look. The TIE fighters look great. The space battle was awesome with Boba Fett and their whole plan to infiltrate the Imperial cruiser. But other than that, the action, like Chapter 15, was just underwhelming.
What was the standout in this season, though? I really can't think. Was there anything really big that happened in the season besides Luke coming back?
Yeah.
I really can't think of much that happened besides Ahsoka.
Cameos.
Really. Yeah.
Cameos. And I didn't mind it with Ahsoka, because you're looking for a Jedi, she's around, okay.
Probably the best episode of the season, I guess.
Yeah, and I defended bringing back Boba Fett. People were upset about that. Why are you relying on a character that's been around and hasn't really done anything? He gets his moment to shine. Okay, that's cool. He's there. He's on Tatooine. He's an ally. But then you do it again. And you do it in a way where you didn't allow your characters that you've been developing to have their moment. With a character who's already had several recent moments.
Yeah.
You can argue that what he does with the Force in The Last Jedi is more impressive than anything we've ever seen done with the Force. And like I said, I'm not a fan of his arc in either Force Awakens or The Last Jedi. I think it was a mistake how they handled that character. But it's not such a mistake where you have to give him WWE. That's Luke's music!
Yeah.
And they didn't even use Luke's music.
It took me. Did it take you a little bit to process that it was Luke? Because when I first saw,
oh hell no! I knew he was coming the entire. As soon as they mentioned the Death Star, I was like, okay, we're gonna see the dude who was responsible for that.
When we saw the X-wing, I kind of agree with Cara Dune, and I was waiting for when she said, "Oh great, one X-wing,"
That was
and I was
funny.
kind of waiting for like the platoon to arrive, and they never showed.
Like
and
possibly just the New Republic?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he had he took out the saber, and then he stole his glove.
Yeah,
on one
as soon
hand.
as he saw the glove, it was confirmed.
I loved all of it, and it's so frustrating to have to bash it, because I loved that entire scene. Seeing R2-D2 and how happy he was. Do you think R2-D2 knew who he is, or
Oh, right, yeah,
he just
well.
knows that he's Yoda's species? I think R2 knows who he is because of the Jedi Temple.
R2-D2 may know who he is, or
He was
may
shaking,
not.
bro.
I mean,
I love when R2 does that, when he
yeah,
shakes, when he's
shakes
happy.
and starts beeping.
Yeah.
That was adorable. We predicted that as
R2?
well, that R2
Yeah.
would make a comeback. We said R2 and Chewbacca as envoys.
Here's a question for you: if they would have went a different Jedi, would it have been better if they would have went Mace Windu, or
No, because I think this moment, like I said,
it had to be
just-
Luke's moment if they were going to do this?
No, I just think you don't use the Jedi this way. I think you can give Luke his cool moment where
Right.
he helps them, he comes and helps save the day, but here he just saves the day. He's a savior.
It was all foreshadowing. I think they should have it should have been more reasonable for that group to fight out of that situation.
Right.
They just made it so impossible, and we knew somebody was coming to help.
And I don't mind Star Wars being predictable.
Yeah.
But here it's predictable in a way that
It's in your face.
Right.
It's like, hey, we're doing this.
and I think going back to chapter 15, them giving that arc to Mayfeld in that episode, which was a great arc, once again. Like, we enjoyed watching Luke, we enjoyed watching Bill Burr act his ass off, but why are you focusing on these things?
They're greenlit for what, 5 seasons right now?
I know season 3 is coming back next year, but yeah, I mean,
December
the show's a huge
2021.
hit, so.
If they keep doing this, the Adventure of the Week route is what they're going to do. We're only in season 2. So we'll see if they're going to keep doing this. If that's their thing, then that's their thing.
I think they may move away from that, because the story of getting Grogu to Luke is so simple, but you kind of expand it by having them hopping to different planets and taking on different villains.
It was on the back burner all season 1.
Yeah, and I
I
defended
loved
it as the Star Trek style of storytelling, but Star Trek always ended their seasons with like 2 connected episodes, where it'd be a part 1
Yeah.
and a part 2 finale, and this show didn't do that. So I wonder now if they'll start to kind of weave some political threads throughout season 3 that are more connected episode to episode, that kind of just build up.
Now they have
more
to,
like
man.
traditional TV.
I think they dug themselves in the hole.
They have to know what they're doing. I think there's a better way to deliver Grogu to the Jedi, but they had to have done that for a reason.
Right.
So we'll
Unless
just have
it
to
was
see.
just, everyone wants to see Luke, so let's give him Luke. And now let's just riff from here. So you better have a plan, man. And it better be good if you're going to do this.
Right, and I think we have some years to go to see if the plan works out. And I still think there's a lot of room for optimism that they can get better from here. Like I said, I'm not off the Mandalorian ship whatsoever. I'm
This
still a big fan
review,
of the
we
show.
loved Mandalorian on this channel. But we got to judge this episode for what it was. And I don't think it was that good of an episode.
We're objective people.
What's that saying? It's not good work, but it's honest. It's honest work. What is it?
Yeah, YouTube is definitely honest work. That's how I describe it. Like and subscribe and click the ads. Well, would you look at that? It's finally over. Hey guys, Bo Oliver here for one final send-off. Now, before I beg you guys to like and share this video, I'd like to thank our very special Patreon pledgers. We are very proud of the community we've been able to build here at NerdSoup, and it would not have been possible without our Patreon supporters. You guys are the true MVPs of this channel. Everything I've said, you keep the fridge full, you keep the lights on. There aren't enough words to thank you guys, but we'll do it anyway. Thank you. And we have a few videos coming up that have been suggested to us by Patreon pledgers. My Hero Academia, Neon Genesis Evangelion, and Full Metal Alchemist will be reviewed by Marissa, and yours truly, and Castlevania, which will be reviewed by Marissa and Aaron. And if you'd like to consider donating to our Patreon page, you can visit patreon.com/nerdsoup and check out some of the rewards we offer to our listeners. And really, we'd like to thank everyone who takes the time out of their day to watch our videos. Patreon pledger or not, your support is what keeps us motivated to keep giving the world our opinions on movies and TV shows and video games and pop culture, even though no one asked for it. We're still here, we're still yapping, and we hope you continue to join us. I'm Bo Oliver, and I support this message.